Hey, my name is Rowan Smith and I want to welcome you to the Training for Trekking podcast. Now, this is the world's very first podcast which is entirely dedicated to helping you train, prepare and conquer your upcoming hike, trek or mountain adventure. So once a week, I'm going to be giving you quality and practical information on the subjects of physical preparation for trekking, dealing with altitude and nutrition on the trail, so you can know everything you need to be doing to have the best chance of a safe, enjoyable and successful adventure. So now you know what you're in for. Let's get into today's episode. So getting sick before and during a trek can absolutely suck. So whether it's the flu, a chest infection, or even just a common cold, whatever it is, it can really throw a spanner in the works of your preparation. And if it happens when you're actually on the trail, not only can it really reduce the enjoyment of you when you're on this adventure, but it can significantly affect your chance of success. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about how you can prevent getting sick, both during your preparation and while you're actually out on a trek. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this today is because it affects so many people. Like, I would say probably about a third of the people I see manage to get some type of illness right before they start a trek. And then probably another third usually get sick while they're on the trail. And I know for myself, I used to always get sick whenever I head off on a trip. And almost every single adventure of my life, or at least in my teenage life, I used to start off feeling absolutely terrible. And it really just was not much fun. So today I'm going to be sharing with you what I've learned over the years as a trainer and give you the tips that have both helped myself and also many of my clients try and stay healthy while they're on the trail. So I'll be breaking this down into 3 different sections and the 3 different points in your preparation and your trek which you might want to be thinking about. So to start with, I want to talk about what you can do in your actual training and preparations not to get sick. So this is the months leading into your trek when you're out on the trail, doing your hiking, doing your strength training and yada yada. After that, we're going to be moving on to what you can do right before your trek. So in the final week before you head off, if you're on an aeroplane and when you first land in whatever country you're going to. And then finally, I'm going to be going into what you can actually do while you're on the trail to keep yourself healthy. So hopefully in the end, you'll have a really good list of things that can really make sure you stay on top of your health, don't get sick, and can thoroughly enjoy yourself while you're doing your adventure. So to start with, I want to talk about getting sick while you're at training. So at some stage during your preparations, because they are going to go for quite a while, more than likely you are going to get sick. Now that's just a given, and if you don't, you're probably pretty lucky. But what we want to be doing is doing everything we can to minimize this, so both minimize the extent of it and the reoccurrence of it, and also if you are getting sick, trying to shorten the length of that. So to start with, there's a few things I want to talk about here. Now, probably the most important one is eating your vegetables. So you've probably heard this a million times for a million different reasons. Veggies are so important for your daily diet. Now, the reason for this is veggies are an incredible source of particular vitamins and nutrients. And every single veggie has a huge list of these very specific nutrients that do specific things in the body. Now, some people like to get super complicated in this and talk about the very particular things that these vitamins or nutrients might be doing, how they interact in the body and X, Y, and Z. But in all honesty, that's incredibly complicated. It's unnecessary. And you're never going to be going to the supermarket and going, hey, I need to get more of this particular phytonutrient or more of this vitamin C. You're just saying, hey, I just want some food. So I'm not going to complicate this. Luckily for us, Mother Nature has made this super simple for us as well. So basically, to get a full spread of nutrients in your vegetables, there are 5 different colors of veggies. There's your white, red, green, yellow, and purple. If you get a serving of each of those different colors every single day, you're going to be covering off all your bases for nutrients that you need. And that's relatively simple to do. If you're thinking about having a particular serving of veggie in every single meal, doing a few different veggies in your dinners, it's really easy to tick off. And that's probably the single most important thing I can say in this entire podcast today is try to get 1 serving at least of each colored veggie every single day. And you're going to be so much further ahead than the majority of people in the world. If that is a bit of a trouble for people, and if you really do struggle to get your veggies, there's a few different things you can do. So one is frozen veggies are really good. They're super simple. You can leave them in the freezer. You can chuck them in the microwave, steam them up. If you're in an office, you can leave a few there or bring them into work. That's super easy. Number 2 is if, at the start of the week, whenever you're cooking up dinners, just cook up and you're cutting up veggies for whatever dinner you're doing. Try to make double portions of that. And so put the veggies you need in your dinner, but then the other half put into Snaplock bags and bring them around with you. And if that's really, really a hassle for you, maybe a greens powder might be a really good thing when those things taste absolutely terrible. And I've tried many and I've yet to find one that doesn't taste rubbish, but they're a really easy way of just forcing in some veggies in there. And you can literally just put in a bit of water and smash it down once a day. So yeah, that's first, number one, eat those 5 different veggies in the day. So number 2 is you want to be thinking about your training intensity wise, in the sense that exercise can be really, really good for your natural immunity. Moderate exercise or moderately hard exercise can be very, very good. It basically stresses the body, forces it to adapt, and it can improve your natural immune system. However, if you're training yourself into the ground, so you're going hell to leather, absolutely smashing yourself in sessions, that really does give the immune system battering. And that's fine to do every once in a while. If you maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks, you want to do a really hard session and really get yourself quite tired. But if you're doing that day after day after day, your body's never going to get a chance to recover properly. It's never going to get a chance to protect itself. And 100% you are going to get sick. Now, that's another reason why I'm not a massive fan of HIIT training for trekkers, because that whole culture is just to go 100% absolutely put everything on the table, but then do that 3 or 4 times a week. And it's really just not good for you in the immune system's point of view. So my entire advice is try to always keep a little bit in your tank as a reserve in your training. And then next is be smart in communal spaces. So if you're near someone who's coughing or sneezing, really just try to avoid them, face the other way. You know, you see in different cultures, people wear those face masks, which, you know, are very, very effective. Obviously, not many people in Australia or many other countries are going to wear them day to day, but that type of thinking should be going through your head, as in anyone that is sick, you really, really, really want to avoid. Now, we could keep on digging further into these, but in all honesty, those 3 things are probably the most important things you can be doing. And if you tick those 3 off, you're going to be well, well ahead of the pack. So next, I want to move forward to what you can do just before you go away. So about in the last week or 2 before you head off. Now, this is the danger zone for people, and this is where the majority of people will get sick, and this is where I've always gotten sick in the past. And basically, for a whole bunch of reasons, this is just a recipe for illness. So if you're working and you're trying to finish up all your work before you go away for a few weeks, that's going to add a huge amount of stress to your body, and any type of stress is just not going to be good for your immune system. There's also the fact that you're going to, some people are quite anxious moving into their treks, whether it's from leaving their family, whether it's just from don't know what to expect, whether they have an up to altitude, but even anxiety can take a bit of a battering on the immune system. Also, you hopefully by this stage, you've done all your hard training. So you've been training, working really hard, and then all of a sudden you take your foot off the accelerator, and you might be doing a little bit, but you're not doing those hard sessions in the week before you go. And quite often, I don't know what the scientific reasoning behind this is, but when the body sort of tends to relax a little bit and it sort of thinks like it can sort of take it easy, that's when, for whatever reason, you get sick. And then also in the final weeks, there's also the added things of going out and socializing, not sleeping very well, and a whole bunch of other things. So it's really, really common for you to get sick. So here are a few very, very specific tips that you 100% need to be doing in your last week before you go. So to start with, you want to be protecting your sleep. So sleep is essential for recovery and immune support. Usually we recommend between 6 and 8 hours as you go in your training, closer to 8 if you are training hard. When you go on away, just before you go away, obviously there's lots of socializing, there's lots of stress, there's lots of saying goodbye to people, and quite often you end up compromising your sleep and you end up getting the 5 or 6 hours closer to rather than 8, and that can really put you at a risk. So 100% be super, super strict with your sleep. So if you're going out at night, give yourself a bedtime, give yourself a cutoff time. You might seem like a bit of a grandpa, but just think the priority is getting through your trip, and sleep and getting the full night's sleep in the week before is incredibly essential for that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is eat smart. So as we just mentioned previously, getting your veggies in and getting your food, like the right food in, is incredibly, incredibly important for your immune support. But before you go away, quite often people are really hesitant about buying groceries. They're really short for time, so they like to go out and just get takeout and this and that. And that's an issue, because not so much as these types of foods will cause you getting sick, but you're basically missing out on quite a few nutrients just because these types of foods aren't really packed with veggies. So one, if you do have the opportunity, try to do your home cooked meals and stay with that. Number two, if you are getting takeout, then try to choose options that do have veggies. And number three is, if this is happening, probably try to supplement your vegetable intake, either with some sides of veggies or with some type of green supplement, because it can really get away with you in the last week, and it's something you don't really want to get in the way of your trip. Next one is minimize your drinking. So drinking of alcohol, I mean. Again, socializing before you go away, lots of farewells, lots of this and that. Try not to go too crazy with your drinking. There's only so much I can say about that, but it does give your immune system a bit of a battering. So just try to minimize that. Next is be pedantic with your hand sanitizer. So buy some hand sanitizer anytime you're in a public place, anytime you're in your office, anytime you're about to eat food. Please use hand sanitizer. It's not something you want to mess around with the last week before you go away, and you want to get in the habit of using that before you go on your trip as well. So get your hand sanitizer, use it as much as you can. And then finally, you might want to consider using some type of immune support supplement. So these are specific supplements which are designed to sort of bolster your immune system, prevent you getting sick, and if you do get sick, to try and speed up the process. So they generally have things like, zinc, vitamin C, echinacea, a whole bunch of different bits and pieces. There's a billion different brands of those out there, but I'd probably recommend you just go down to a health food store or a chemist and just ask them about immune support supplement and see what they can recommend. This is going to be something you're probably going to take on your trip as well. So if you're buying this a week out, you probably want to be looking at something that has quite a few servings of it. Next up is when you're actually on the plane. So 3 things here is, number one, as I mentioned before, hand sanitizer. Use it. Every time you eat, if someone's coughing, if someone's sick, anything, just use your hand sanitizer. Number 2, consider bringing wearing a face mask of some type. Maybe those full-on face masks might not be so fashionable, but if you've got your buff in your bag or your headscarf, try using that over your mouth as you're sleeping on the plane, or if someone's coughing around on the plane, because you don't want to be messing around with that. And then finally, keep hydrated. So it's really, really easy when you're on the train to get dehydrated. You just don't drink water. You're sitting there, but you do lose quite a bit of water when you're just hanging out on a plane. Dehydration can trouble your immune system a little bit, so just make sure you're drinking water while you're up there. Feel free to hassle the flight attendants to get your water. Don't feel bad, because again, you just don't want to get sick. And then moving on to the last section is when you're actually on the trail. So this is all more or less common sense. You've probably all heard it before, but stuff that you want to be making happen. So number one, use your hand sanitizer. So when you're on the trail, your hygiene goes way down. Hand sanitizer is incredibly essential. So every time you eat, after every time you go to the bathroom, just use it, and be really, really pedantic about it and almost religious about it, because it is so important. Number 2 is be smart with your food. So, everyone's got the stories of someone who's gone over to Nepal and gotten the trots while they're trekking or on the way home. And, everywhere on a trek, you do have that risk. So please be smart with your food. Don't be eating meat when you're up on the top of the mountain. If you're in somewhere like India or Nepal, be smart about veggies, which, like the rule in India used to be, don't eat veggies which can't be peeled. And then a whole bunch of other things. So just be smart with your food. You probably know what I'm talking about there, and I don't need to dive in too much in specifics. And then next, be smart with your water. So again, bottled water is always great. If you are going to be drinking from streams, rivers, or anything, and you're not 100% certain it's going to be good, use your water purification tablets. Use some type of purification system. Really, it's better to be safe than sorry with that type of stuff, and you don't want to be dealing with a dodgy stomach on the trek. Next is the immune support things I was talking about before. They're really, really beneficial to bring with you on the trek. They're small, they're light, and having 1 or 2 of those a day, or however they're prescribed, can just give you that little bit of a bolster and a little bit of a buffer room from getting sick. So I highly recommend them. And then if you are on a longer trek, and say you're doing over a week or something like that, the further you trek, usually the less easy it becomes for you to carry veggies with you, fresh fruit and veggies, which, they're just not practical to carry in your bags. This is where you want to start be thinking about, how can I bolster the nutrients coming in while I'm eating sort of the very basic food when I'm trekking. So that's when you want to start thinking about green supplements, so keeping them in your bags, or even powdered fruit supplements, which can do more or less the same thing in a different way. But that's where you want to start be thinking a little bit longer down the line. You probably want to be using something like that. So there you go. That's sort of a really, really long list of things that you can put into action pretty easily. I would highly recommend, wherever stage you are at in your trip right now, go back to whatever section of that I just talked about, copy down those notes, and then put it into action, because it's all pretty simple stuff, but it does make a massive, massive difference. And as I said at the start, if you're training, if you're preparing, if you've been dreaming of this adventure for so long, you don't want something as simple as a little bit of illness getting in the way of you ticking this goal off your bucket list. So please do the right things, prevent the illness before it starts, and hopefully you'll have a really, really good time. So I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If there's anything that wasn't so clear or anything you'd like covered, please just let me know, swing me an email, leave me a comment, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. You've been listening to the Training for Trekking podcast. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in iTunes. So thanks for getting involved, and we'll see you on the next one.